Hello again and welcome from the deep into another episode of The Graveyard Shift with me, Book of Brett. Today we are going to be reviewing Lift from 2024, now streaming on Netflix, a movie that really makes you wonder what the fuck is going on at Netflix. This is a movie that I came across while going through Netflix on their trending list. It was sitting at number 1.
Hey, what happened?
And it really makes me wonder if their curated list that is the trending list is run by either a manic depressive or the Miracle Network, because I cannot for the life of me figure out how the hell this ended up at the number 1 spot.
That's a great movie.
Before we get into how I felt about this movie, all the problems that I find in this movie, which kind of gives away how I felt about the movie, and what I really think this means overall for movies in general right now, and definitely their trending list, let's go over to IMDb to read their one-sentence synopsis. Follows a master thief and his Interpol agent ex-girlfriend who team up to steal $500 million in gold bullion being transported on an A380 passenger flight. First and foremost, in that synopsis, it says ex-girlfriend. Let's be very, very clear. Ex-girlfriend is they went on a trip or a date, or they dated for like 5 days. It's this like really like sandwiched aspect to their character development, of which there is almost none in this movie. This movie lacks everything that a good heist movie is supposed to have. We have very little character development here. We have very little ingenuity to any of the characters. We have action scenes, but they just kind of happen without any really interconnecting thread through the whole thing. And this whole movie really made me sit there and wonder what the f is going on over at Netflix.
He's losing his mind.
From the very get-go, it's very clear that the whole point of this movie is to just ride you along through a sequence of exciting events that go from one to the next without really any logic going in between them, and just pushing a movie out there with popular people in it. I mean, we've got Kevin Hart in here. We have Vincent D'Onofrio in here, who is a phenomenal actor who with a slew of accolades. I mean, all you have to do is say Full Metal Jacket and you think of Vincent D'Onofrio because he's in the most famous scene in that movie. We also have Jean Reno in here, who is from The Professional from back in the 90s, which is one of like the first like R-rated movies that I ever really saw. But that is a great example of an action movie with artistry to it, with depth to it, with substance in there. I cannot figure out why Kevin Hart and Vincent D'Onofrio's characters are even part of this team to begin with.
Why are you even here, Randy? You'll never be the leading man.
Because something that you see in heist movies is you'll usually have people that are working behind the scenes that are contributing a lot to the group, to the plan, to the heist, and they might not necessarily be going and being part of the action. They might not be physically in the heist, but there was a reason for them to be there because of what is almost sometimes like a supernatural level of intellect, like a genius level of intellect.
I am a genius.
And when it's still grounded in reality, when you have characters that you really know, that have an explanation behind them, that have a reason for who they are, you can kind of let that go. You can kind of let the outlandish things go. That's why heist movies are so entertaining and why we enjoy them, because they are going to have really outlandish moments, but there's a lot of it that still feels realistic, that where you can sit there and even though you're suspending your disbelief, you can still sit there and go, you know what, that was still really cool. That doesn't happen at all in this movie. I can't figure out a reason for Kevin Hart in particular to be a part of this group, because all he does is he gets people together like a club promoter would get a bunch of bands together for a show. Now, I also mentioned Vincent D'Onofrio. I can't figure out why he's in this movie. He's quote unquote the master of disguise.
Turtle.
But nothing in this movie ever really happens where you need a master of disguise.
Turtle.
Maybe if that master of disguise was like disguising the other characters or something like that, I could totally get that. But this guy is a master of disguise for himself. And on the main heist in this movie, he does almost nothing.
Am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?
He might actually do nothing. Now, I do want to get into the aspects of what really make this movie not just bad, but really kind of a slap in the face. And to do that, I think I'm going to go ahead and read my Letterboxd review, and then we can kind of go from there. Now, I'm going to say this, it's pretty harsh. I may or may not have had a few drinks by the time I wrote this, but honestly, like, this movie, when I started it, I was not drinking, and by the end of it, I was drunk because it was the only way to get through this movie.
And that, as much as anything else, led to my drinking problem.
From the god-awful CGI to the complete absence of character development and the abundance of tropes and cliches that only a fan of Marvel movies could enjoy, Lift is everything that a good heist movie is not. Every character fits a mold that has been so overdone it's transforming into a fungus. Every joke is so flat that Roadkill wishes it was less dimensional. Every facet, aspect, and detail of this script reeks so bad that a dog turd in a summer heat wave resembles a Thanksgiving dinner. There's nothing new and exciting here, and to be completely honest, it's a slap in the face to the audience, unfortunate enough to find itself intrigued by Kevin Hart's appearance and its place on the Netflix trending list, that they end up using the pixels on their televisions to display it. I was bored, I was frustrated, I was disappointed, and now I'm downright fucking depressed. This is the most basic heist movie. This is like what somebody makes as a heist movie so that they can make a better heist movie. And this movie really is, to me, a very good example of how the Netflix trending list is anything but. It's not a trending list, and the reason I say that is because when I go online and I see just terrible review after terrible review, low ratings out the ass. It's got like 2.2 on Letterboxd. It's got really low ratings on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. And when I see that, all I can think is there's no way this is actually a trending list, other than, I guess it is possible that people see Kevin Hart, and Kevin Hart does have a very big draw. He's an incredibly bankable actor, but he's a bankable actor because the vast majority of people that are going to watch a Kevin Hart movie are not usually the types of people that are going to go watch a movie that was made for a cinematic experience.
It could be easy, but for me, I go deep.
And I feel like this movie, that's really the only way this ends up on the trending list, if in fact it is a trending list, but I genuinely don't believe Netflix's trending list is that anymore. I think it's just a self-promotion tool for the material that they're working on, which is fine, but you have a new releases section. Put it under the new releases section. If people want to watch what's new on Netflix, there's already a couple of categories, I believe, that already tie into the new release category for Netflix. So to sit here and go, this is trending, to me is absolute total bull.
Am I the only one around here who gives a shit about the role?
So much of this is just fluff. It's just action. It's just eye candy. There's nothing cinematically attractive about this movie. And even the things that would normally be fun in a heist movie, even a very outlandish one, fall so flat in here. The jokes do fall flat, but what else falls flat is the impact of the super high-tech gadgets that we're supposed to have. The biggest example of this is the fucking plane that they're on to begin with. They coat this plane in what I'm going to assume is a ton of very heavy metal, and then that's just supposed to be okay. They never touch on how's it going to mess with the aerodynamics or anything like that, which again I understand is like a nitpicky thing, but if we were watching a good fun heist movie, we would have gotten some explanation of why this works. Instead, what we're given is, isn't this cool? We're gonna use this. Isn't this cool? It's so cool. This is so cool.
It's pretty lame.
We also get this really inexplicable scene at the very end where the plane like crashes, it rolls around, and somehow still they were able to show footage to an entire Italian police force of Jean Reno's character committing a crime and why they should arrest him. It works just fine. It works just fine.
I just want to watch the movie.
I'm only gonna say this one more time, sir. Calm down.
Now, I did say there was no character development. There's a little bit of character development with Agent Gladwell's character, where she says the reason she got into Interpol and into the art division, which even that explanation is initiated in just the most cliche, just, did I ever tell you my backstory? And then like it's initiated without the other character having really shown interest in it. But they needed to figure out some way to explain why she's so against them, why it ruined their relationship of 5 days. And the whole thing is predicated on when she was younger, her mom bought a print. Somebody stole this print, which is apparently the only thing they stole from them, and then that was why she got into it. It's like they didn't steal an original painting, they stole a print. It's the laziest, most boring explanation for somebody to get at such a high level and to be so invested in what's going on. I had a bike stolen whenever I was younger. It didn't make me want to become a detective in the homicide and bicycle division.
That's not a thing.
Had they taken the time with something like this, like doing a heist on a plane with a bunch of high-tech could be really cool. There is a cool concept in here, but it was done in such a lazy, almost rushed way. Like, it really feels like so much of this movie was just rushed to get something out there, as if Netflix needed a new mainstream movie to start the new year off with, because this has been on Netflix for a few days now. I mean, this movie was directed by F. Gary Gray. F. Gary Gray did Friday. He did Straight Outta Compton. He did The Italian Job. Like, F. Gary Gray is a good director.
He's an angry elf.
I really feel like had we been given more character development, had we been given more any kind of development, as I said, the beginning of the movie feels like we're just rushing right into it. From the very beginning, you get this vibe of we're just rushing into the exciting parts and we're skipping everything else that matters. Had we been given the time to really give some investment in the things that are happening, we might have had a good movie here. But overall, this movie is just, I can't figure out why it exists, how it got greenlit, and how it got finished in the form that it was finished in. But that is going to do it for me today, guys. If you did like this episode, can't imagine why you would have, because it's just me ranting. But if you did like it, go ahead and hit the like button. If you like what we're doing on the channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And let me know down in the comments, if you've watched Lift, what you thought about it. The majority of people that I'm seeing feel about the same way that I did. And so I know that it's not just me being some angry old man in a not quite old man body yet, but that could very well be what it is. And if you do have any film suggestions, leave those down in the comments too. As Mike said in the last episode, we are going to start doing some more non-horror. Horror is still going to be a very big part of this episode, but if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I like stuff other than horror. I watch a lot of other stuff than horror, and action movies are one of them. And heist movies I usually like. This one, I fucking hated it. But until next time, I will see you guys later.